Hi, I am the guy from Melbourne, um, and I may have met some of you before. Uh, 2 years ago, was it? Three years ago, I gave a talk on a ridiculous T-shirt ordering website I built for a community event, and then I ended up living here for a bit, and then moved back to Melbourne. So I've been in Melbourne for 2 years. But I'm here for JS Fest, so I'm pretty excited. Christina emailed me saying, I've got this crazy idea, when are you arriving? And I wasn't meant to be arriving today, but I made sure I arrived this morning so I could be here tonight. So I've spent more of the last 48 hours in an airplane than out of an airplane, and this lighting is making me feel like, you know when they put you into sleep mode? It's like they've just flicked their sleep mode. You all just deactivate. So I'm fighting against that. So my background is a mix of programming, design, usability. I've spent a few years just being senior back-end developer. I've spent a few years running a design agency. Spent a year here with Amen just doing full-time front-end engineering. So I do a lot of stuff. At the moment, I've started a new company with an old colleague of mine called BuildBox, and I'm the designer of our half, but we both do a lot of designing and programming. And recently I started teaching in Melbourne. I was approached by General Assembly, and they said, hey, we've got lots of people wanting to do a complete basic intro to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and a bit of Ruby, everything. And I'd done the JavaScript for absolute beginners here. I think here, like literally here, which was awesome. And I've been saying how awesome it was ever since to everyone. So I thought I'd do it. And this is the course that I ran. So it was 4 nights. It went for 2.5 hours each night. And it went on Monday, Wednesday, and then the next Monday, and then the next Wednesday. So people were just coming after their full-time jobs. So the first night was all terminology and just getting your head around stuff. Then HTML, CSS, programming, and then putting it all together and watching people's brains explode. So, so these were just, this class, it was super fun. So teaching was really awesome. If anyone has the opportunity to just jump on it. There's something on Saturday I hear that's really good. And I'm keen to just cover some of the things that I was totally surprised by. And there's probably a lot of people in here that have actually taught. So I'd love, like, I'm just going to go through some things where like, whoa, I had no idea they would not understand that thing. Or they totally got this much easier than I thought. And if anyone has any counter examples, like, that's totally wrong, you're just lucky. Or examples where, yeah, I explained this to my buddy and this is how I did it. So we'll just do that as we go. Because I want to hear other people's stories. Because I'm not claiming I know why these things happened, but they did. So the students that approach GA are kind of different to the ones that I would get if I just ran a workshop and marketed myself and put it on Twitter. And I'd always thought of doing that, and I probably will do that at some point. But this was a great way because they had people waiting that just really wanted to learn. So I had to put together the material. But the first group was people that want to pay others to build something, and they just want to know the lingo, want to know how to talk to them. They're always kind of weird because I can't really, they're just not me. So, but, and a lot of the time they're doing it through contract websites. I don't know how much they're paying, who knows. But that was one group. So they had the one perspective. There was about half the others were people that worked in content or worked in UX or worked as project managers or office managers as well. And they just want to either get into it or want to be able to just earn more respect or talk the talk. This is just what they told me at the start of the class when I asked them. And then there was the people who want to make stuff. Of course, these are the ones we get really excited about. You want to be like me? Yeah, awesome. I love you. But that's not fair on the others. So that's the kind of spectrum. So this is, what did I learn? I had fun trolling through all my Berlin photos to find the backgrounds. They're my friends at Tempelhof. So the first thing is logo is amazing. So who here knows what logo is? It's like half the room. Who here's written logo? It's like a third of the room. So this is a robot called the Turtle, which has a pen, which you can instruct it to put the pen down and turn right and move forward and turn left. And they were trying to figure out early on in the 70s, what can people do with computing? Like, how can we get people excited about what you can do with computers? And so they got kids to program this robot to draw pictures. And I kind of went, I sort of chose this on a whim, like it wasn't a suggestion from General Assembly or anything. And this worked out really well, like much better than teaching people JavaScript as the first sort of way of understanding programming, or Ruby. So something we did was we just got pen and paper and we're like, all right, Joran, you get this is your API documentation. You get 3 commands. I'm like, you can see your API, and you sort of getting them into the lingo. And it's like, you can forward, right turn, left turn, and repeat with a loop, and then getting people with paper just to figure it out. And then we would sort of name those things and say, all right, this is a square, and you can call it a square, and then just use it and say, draw a square, draw a square, draw a square. And that's how they learn abstraction. And then we added a parameter, so you could say change the size of the square, and they started to understand parameters. And it was super fun. We could do it on paper. They just loved it. I loved it. And the kids that actually did this, sorry, this is from the original research paper out of MIT. This is the stuff that primary school kids, I don't know, what's German primary school? Yes, that. Sorry. This is what they came up with. So they've got loops and pen up, pen down. BirdTurd. How amazing is that? So unfortunately, no one drew a BirdTurd in class. But the other great thing is there's JavaScript versions of this. So without them knowing, I didn't tell them they were doing logo. And then I'm like, well, actually, you've just written your first piece of software. Let's like paste one of yours into a web thing. And they were like, whoa. So has anyone tried to use logo? Or I used logo on a Mac in a Mac lab in high school, like OS something before X's and animals. So yeah, that's why I thought of it. And it worked out really well. So, and I think it looks like Logo still has this massive community, and they standardize it. There's standard logo now and all sorts of stuff. So these books are the books you used to be able to buy to learn how to program. So like computer spy games and basic for beginners, but with like asteroids and yellow cassettes. How awesome is that? Freaking dragons. And this guy is explaining machine coding. This little robot guy and this other little robot is explaining machine coding. Like, how many blog posts do you read that look this awesome? 0. Sorry. GitHub Pages themes. Imagine if they had themes that look like this. Someone's got to do it. And the way you would learn programming in this era was there would be like, this is a game, this is a spy game, type it in, and you just type it in. You read every page and you retype it, and you hit like run after I don't know how long, and it'd probably say syntax error 900 times, and you'd get something working. And that seems really boring, but we did this code along thing where you just follow exactly what I'm doing on your own computer, so at least you feel like it's your files, you own it. and just type what I'm doing, and they would type along, and then they didn't understand what they were doing, but it's just like getting in there and getting your hands dirty, and they're like, oh my god, I built something, and they went from a blank page to like an about.me style personal homepage thing with their photo and their name in about 15 minutes, because I knew exactly what CSS to type in. But that worked really well. They got like a taste, like I can make something. Of course, knowing what CSS to write in HTML tags is the tricky part. They would learn that pretty soon, but that worked really well. So just like copying and retyping, it just goes against what we do though, like retyping stuff. And especially when you teach adults, you're like, I want to teach them conceptually and rationally. And the nights where we spoke about rational conceptual stuff, people's like eyes went red and they were looking at me and I'm like, this is really bad. But you kind of have to do that as well. And some people probably learn by doing that. And then we'd balance that with trying to do, well, the next week I'd be freaking out. In the next class I'd be like, all right, let's do practical and just keep it simple. So that was cool. Has anyone done any of this? I don't think I haven't actually done this. Yeah, awesome. What did you type in? What was the game?
I used to have a thing called a multi desk or something. You have like Excel very basic. So I would rent these from a library and type it in, and then spend the next like 2 weeks trying to pull the code over.
Yeah, okay. So was that a one per desk?
It's called a one per desk.
One per desk. Okay. Cool. Yeah, it's like try Ruby and try insert whatever here is kind of as close as we get, but you don't have like a dragon to motivate you. So Why the Lucky Stiffs guide's pretty good for that sort of style of motivation, but he's like in meta programming crazy town. So I tried to point students towards it, and it's just like, oh, that's funny. I have no idea what he's talking about. So superpowers are pretty motivational, and I think this applies to everyone in that, and this applies to meetups as well. You see this all the time where someone's like, all right, so this is this new library, and this is how it works, and and then this is how you install it and configure it, and this is all the decisions that went into building it. And then there's another way, which is like, ding, look what you can do. And then you don't really know what happened, but you saw some stuff, and you're like, wow, I don't know what it is, but I want to be able to do that thing. And I think this is how a lot of, at least how I am motivated. Like, I just want to see like a glimpse of a better future self, or a more like having a superpower where you're like, I would love to develop that quickly. And as much as I don't like DHH for various reasons, or he's painful, one of the amazing things he did, he's the guy that invented Rails or coded Rails to start with, was that he did this 15-minute blog demo where he had all these shortcuts set up, and he's just like, shortcut, and it just, you didn't really know what was going on. It was like watching Linus write C, like building Linux, and you're like, whoa, but you don't have to know. It's actually kind of motivational. You'll then go like through all the pain of learning what's required to have that superpower. There's a crappy old saying, and I've probably got it completely wrong, but it's always stuck with me that if you want a group of people to build a ship, don't tell them to go and collect wood, have them yearn for the sea. It's that same kind of idea. And I found this, like I was like, all right, this is how CSS selectors work. So you've got descendant selector, and you've got, and then you can like chain them with commas, and people just like, why the hell are you teaching me this? Like, what? Why? I don't care. And you're like, you can style all the links and make them turn into buttons and give them gradients. So like, that's awesome. Like, that's what I was just saying. So yeah, that was, I mean, these sound obvious when you say them out loud. I feel silly saying some of these things out loud, but I didn't realize these before. So this was, I think people would be better able to draw fractal trees than to understand, like truly understand CSS selectors. They're really hard. Like, CSS selectors are voodoo, because they're they're a DSL. They're an abstraction, and just like maths, if you don't understand the maths theory, you're just like, so CSS selectors are the same. You have to understand the DOM. You have to understand there's a tree of stuff. There's quite a lot of stuff to put in there. So this is the thing that left them red in the eyes when I got dug into selectors. But when I asked them to sort of make a picture come to life, like say you've got an idea in your mind of a web page you want to create, they just kind of figured it out and didn't understand selectors. So I think I made a mistake by actually trying to explain selectors, and doing it more practically may have been better. But that's not to say you should hide it. Yeah, I was like, wow, I didn't realize they were that hard, because I just write them. We all write them. We're like, yeah, easy, CSS. You just understand a tree and and to go along with this, like, I don't think this has to be as sucky as it is either. So this is as good as you get. So you click on an element in, this is Chrome, but they all, as far as I know, don't have fun tools for just exploring selectors. So you can, if you know JavaScript, go document.querySelector and just play. But why, seeing as we spend all our day sitting in this document, and selectors is the way we need to learn how to deal with the document, whether it's CSS or JavaScript, the tools for just playing with selectors, exploring them, looking at nodes, they could be awesome. There should just be like a quick search bar at the top where you just type selectors and it highlights things on the page, and you can just quickly just use it as your go-to. Because you just get, it's all descendants. That's all this ever is, just descendant selector for HTML tags. So that would be cool if we had that. I would have loved that for class. Yeah, this is really hard. So starting a HTML file on your computer, adding some CSS, they're like, whoa, I'm building the internet, this is amazing. And then the next step, how do I get it online? And I kind of feel like as web nerds, we've been distracted by Heroku and GitHub pages and all these like cool tools that hook into Git and do all these things. And we've just kind of left like FTP as this like dirty little secret in the corner of the internet. You're like, if you want, you can go and register it like at GoDaddy.com and they'll give you an FTP account. You can just drag and it's really easy. Or you can learn Git and you can push to Heroku after you create a config.ru and like, and it sucks because this is still happening, and it's really hard. Like, I discovered NeoCities. Who's heard of NeoCities? Only one person. See, this is why. So it's like everyone gets 20 megabytes. It's what GeoCities was. So it's a free place. You get a subdomain. They believe in data ownership. So they encourage you to have your own domain and point it to it, so you're not tied to them. But you can just drag some files in. You get 20 meg for free. And that was almost it. Like, there's some free FTP accounts, but I was getting better free CGI bin accounts back in the day than you can get now. So yeah, that was really hard. And the best thing we came up with was Dropbox. So you can, everyone, I realized that you could say to everyone, you've got a web server in your Dropbox account, in your public folder. Dropbox is kind of giving you a web server for free and you don't know it. No one knew about it. You can drop a file into public, right click and go, give me the URL, and just paste that URL to someone. That's great. But I felt bad encouraging people to do that because it's tied to Dropbox. So does anyone know any other cool things? I'm seeing lots of sad faces. Okay, yeah. So that was Cactus, and DreamHost, and all the things. Damn, I was hoping you guys would have some awesome suggestion. Silence. So I was trying to think of some analogies to this, and I had a photo of driving in Japan. Like, I can really easily understand how a car works, and how the steering wheel works, and how streets work, and how street lights work. But it's still a real challenging thing navigating a city, even though you know all the rules, you know all the technologies. It's still like the most tricky part, and the more paths, and you've got to figure it out. And everyone really just fell down when we had to piece it all together, especially with Rails, because, and I wonder how this affects like Rails girls as a, and any JavaScript for beginners, and because this spanned all technologies, but yeah, having to like by the end of the class, everyone sent a SMS to themselves. That was like, I built this thing called emergencykittenrequest.herokuapp.com. So there's an emergency kitten Twitter account, which just posts regularly just awesome little cute kittens. And so this you can, like, if you think someone might need an emergency kitten right now, you can SMS them one using Twilio. And that was the demo. And then I wanted to just, because I was like, oh, this is how you store something in the database, and everyone's like, yeah, okay. It's like sending an SMS. Whoa, that was amazing. Everyone's eyes lit up. But you had to, if you updated the gem file, you had to restart Rails, which required another console window. Like, and then it's just the world blew up. And the same applies to JavaScript and CSS. It's when they connect. It's like that's when people's minds explode. So yeah, I'm not sure the answer to that, but there's a thing called UI Lang, which Benjamin DeCock, who works at Stripe, released, that is like a really human way of writing JavaScript. So you say, when someone clicks on this button, add this class to this selector, like you actually wrote it in English, and it translates it to JavaScript and runs it. So for designers to sort of get into events, so they don't have to understand how the run loop works with events and stuff like that. So that's one cool way of just making the connecting bits easier. But they found the idea of events pretty simple, like triggering events, and events happen on the page. That was they're like, yeah, cool, yeah, show me how. That's fine conceptually. Yeah, I just found that Rails wasn't a great intro, so it was just really hard. It was crazy town. We had to use Nitrous.io, which is really great, which is a web thing, but I think there's just a lot going on, and you're sort of adopting a lot. I mean, I use Rails all the time myself, but there's just a lot going on. There's a lot of opinions baked into it, which sort of don't apply necessarily if you're learning and programming for the first time. Absolutely, if you're trying to be productive and you're trying to create an app that's maintainable for a team, all those things. Sounds, I might not make friends with that, but I mean, I've got a lot of Rails friends, so. Not tonight, it doesn't. But I found when I've learned how to stay silent in between sections, it created the best questions. And I literally just had to force myself to stop, and I'd like look at the ground and kind of look around like a dope, and just wait for a designated dumb question, and then we'd get into more dumb questions. It was great. It's really good. So learning how to pause. This totally blew people's minds. So the idea that everyone thinks that people, like even people that have decided, I want to learn programming, they think like, I'm going to have to learn all this theory, and then I'm going to have to figure it out in my head, and then I'll know exactly what to write. And the idea that you just like try something and it doesn't work, Google it. They're like, you Google? No, come on, you don't really Google at your job, do you? Like for work, I'm like, yeah, I do. I had to tell them how to block w3schools.com from Google search results. You'd go into your user preferences and block it forever. I highly recommend that. So MDN comes up number one. But yeah, that just blew their mind. That was really something that blew their mind. And I found like I do a lot of web stuff, but I have a lot of non-web friends. But I really discovered a lot of the culture once I started explaining like code comments, like hidden bits of code comments inside the source of a page that's just meant for other web designers, or having fun with 404 pages and 500 pages. Like all that quirky web culture stuff that we don't realize because we live it every day. It's awesome. It's really great. I think it's like a really fun, healthy, we're able to create value for others and have fun doing it. That's pretty awesome. And the other aspect of this was the students themselves were really awesome. I was just blown away. The checkered shirts? Oh, the orange ones? Oh, yeah, that's a Melbourne thing. If you come to Melbourne, you've got to buy a plaid shirt and drink filter coffee. Oh. And that's it. That's all I've got.